Poor diesel challenge, $10,000, buy, build, and compete with a diesel pickup truck. I've got the Duramaxes, Ron has got the Cummins, and Tyler has got the Power Strokes. Today, we're working on getting this single cab long bed shortened up to just a single cab short bed, and not the 6.5 bed that everybody uses. We are doing a true 5 3/4 bed. The easiest way to tell the difference between a 6.5 foot and a 5 3/4 foot bed is the fuel filler neck to the wheel well. But I think this will be the first how-to sort of on how to shorten this frame for that bed. So I'm gonna be lazy, and instead of bolting this fuel tank, I'm just gonna take the death wheel and cut it right out. Just like that, removed. If anybody needs a good 35-gallon fuel tank for a Duramax, it's on Marketplace, Birmingham, Alabama area, or something like that. There's still probably like 15 gallons in this thing. If I remove the strap altogether, it's lighter. I've kind of already started on this side, but you get the axle disconnected, so you got your leaf spring bolt. You're gonna have to unbolt that one. There's one in the front. I've got the fuel tank out of this thing already, so fuel tank is sitting right there. We're gonna have to take the exhaust out of it. Drive shaft's gotta come out of it. That was already out from when I got the truck. You'll have to disconnect the brake lines and the shocks as well. Everybody's gonna have a different way of doing this, but once I have all that stuff disconnected, I like to come through and cut the rivets with a center cut through the center of them, kind of like this right here. And I just do that so that when I knock them out with air hammer, they pop out a whole lot easier. So I'm going to get this side stripped all the way off because we need those brackets to be able to slide this thing forwards. But I'll leave this side all intact so y'all can see kind of where we start from. Now, these front two bed bolts will still line up with the factory 5 3/4 bed. However, I don't think the rest of them will. So we will end up cutting these off, and we'll be using these for the rear, and we'll just do 4 bolts across the entire thing to support it. So with that, I'm going to pop these rivets off, get this side of the frame stripped, and then we'll slide it forwards and see where we're sitting at. All right, so we got these back 4 rivets cut off. We got our bracket off. We've got all of these rivets cut off except for this last one, but it should still give me the ability to just pop that off right there. We're going to use that bracket to extendo where our leaf spring perches are. We'll put a nut in it, a nut and bolt, and then we will weld that bracket back onto the frame. As for this bottom bracket, you've got 2 rivets in there. Once you get those out, it comes right off. So now you can see the frame is basically stripped all the way back except for this, because we're going to end up cutting it somewhere in that section. But now we're going to come over to the passenger side and cut all those rivets off, cut all those rivets off, and do the same thing. All right, now it's a little bit cooler in the day. Here's where we're sitting at now. We got the leaf spring perches off, we got the bottom base off, we've got the back ones off, and the axle has been slid forwards. We've got that going on both sides. We've got the fuel tank and the exhaust. Exhaust is over there, exhaust removed. And here's what we got going on now. So instead of trying to save all of this and undo all these rivets and everything, we are just going to do ourselves a little back cut here. And it's going to basically cut right through there. And we're going to cut all of this off the frame. With the bed gap and everything, it kind of comes back like 6 foot from the cab, which kind of puts us a little bit closer into this. So we're just going to do the mounts and slide this thing forwards. So I've already got my little outline right there. And I'm going to go through and cut this back section off. And then once this is... So I'm going to go through and cut this back section off. Once this back section is cut off, I'll get the bed set on top of here, and we'll start trying to figure out where we're going to center the axle with the whole thing. And with that, we have shortened the back of the frame. We gotta get the axle all figured out. Removed a little bit over 2 feet of frame rail, and I'm gonna take this fuel cell and put it right in this area. But for right this very second, I'm going to clear all of this crap out of my way, and I'm going to pick that bed up and set it onto that frame. And now that it is officially dark out, I went through and set the bed on the back of this thing. And let me tell y'all, this thing is short. Like, you just look at that bed and you're like, not a whole lot of space there. But that is what we are looking for this challenge. This right here is all weight reduction, and this is also the ability to transfer weight from up there onto that. So with that, I leave y'all. Tomorrow we will get the suspension stuff figured out, and then I will measure for a drive shaft. So we are currently $9,630 into this Poor Diesel Challenge truck. Poor Diesel Challenge, 10 grand, buy, build, and compete with a diesel pickup truck. I'm currently going over the budget, and I realized that we are over 9 grand into this truck. So as you know, first up, we've got the truck, $1,100 into buying just the truck, and then injector nozzles, CP3, fuel tank, and an air dog. So just for the fuel system, we're $2,890 into just the fuel system. Like, there's no hard engine components or anything in there. That's just the fuel system. So between that and the truck, we're sitting at about 4 grand. As for the air, we have a T6 turbo flange. We have an S500 turbo. We have a set of high flow manifolds and up pipes from the DMAX store. And then we have LBZ intake manifolds and an LBZ 3-inch Y bridge. And then I've got manifold blankets and up pipe blankets to be able to get the heat from the cylinder head to the turbo. We're $1,580 into the air system on this. So for just the truck, the fuel and the air to be able to run this thing, we're at $5,570. We're over half of our budget into just the fuel and air in the vehicle. Doesn't include any of the other crap that goes into this. That's just what we got sitting there. Now for the short block, we already covered that in a different video, but we are $471 into just the short block. We've got a set of head studs for $190. We've got a set of head gaskets for like $40. And that's basically it as far as the motor goes. I mean, the gaskets, we got the manifold gaskets with the high flow up pipe kit. And then the second valve cover gets RTV'd on. The lower valve cover, that's got a reusable gasket that we just reused. Basically, if there wasn't like a specific gasket like the head gasket, the gasket either got reused or RTV'd in place. There was no, we're going to put the right gasket in. We're going to do this for as cheap as we can to make it, functional. And then for the trans, we've got a set of C3s and C4s. I believe those were $75 and $72 for the C3s, C4s. We were going to use an LML converter. However, I think since we have enough budget, we're going to step it up to an FTI triple disc converter. I'm shooting for 3,000 horsepower on this whole ordeal, or 1,000 horsepower. 3,000, we're not running UCC. We don't have that in the budget. But I want to see 4 digits out of this thing at the crank. So if it's like, 850 at the tire between the Allison, the 14 bolt, and everything, it's about 1,000 at the crank. If we hit 1,000 at the wheel, that'd be cool, but I doubt it. But at 1,000 horsepower, I doubt that an LML converter will be able to hold that long term. So since we've got 10 grand, I went ahead and spent the $1,500 on the FTI converter. I know that will hold 1,000 horsepower. That is $7,918 into the truck, the air, the fuel, the motor, and the trans. That's more than 3/4 of our budget on just the bare necessities. Now I'm going to throw in some of the odds and ends that we needed, like a battery. We're $70 into a battery for this thing. We're $313 into the short bed from Pull Apart, $15 into the taillights for the bed, $17 into the axle seal that was leaking on the back of this truck. And then I had to spend at least $16 to get a better steering wheel for this thing, because I'm not going to be riding around with a worn out rod trying to go down the drag strip or do other things. So we spent $16 on a steering wheel. So we are currently $8,349 into the budget for where we want to be sitting at. So that's what we spent to get the truck running and driving. Now the rest of the stuff that I've got sitting in here is either frivolous stuff that we don't really need but I want to have in there, or stuff that I haven't purchased yet. Picked up some 17-inch steelies from the junkyard. They were like $55, so it's a steel wheel plus the tire. Plan is to sell the tire off of it because I just need the steel wheel, but haven't sold them yet, so can't take that out of the budget until it's sold. And then we got a set of drag slicks because we're a 2-wheel drive truck. JH is running a 4-wheel drive truck, and I need the best shot at being able to get this thing down the track. If it was quarter mile, I wouldn't worry too much about it because we'd be able to catch them on the big end, but 1/8 mile 4-wheel drive trucks really shine because, well, they can put the power down in such a short period of time. So that's why we're doing a short bed on this. That's why we're putting some sticky tires on the back of it. Hopefully we can get this thing to hook and go. And then we got some 20-inch 5-spoke Denali stocks. I think they just look good. I don't know if they're going to look good on the truck. I've test fitted them and I'm not quite happy with them yet, but we got the wheels, and then we've got the adapters to be able to go from the truck hub to this tire
wheel, whatever you want to call it. And then we've got ourselves a set of heated leather Cadillac seats that have the little arm bench in it, plus the Cadillac dash. I think the Cadillac dash looks pretty cool, and it was pennies on the dollar. The seats, not so much. And then the only thing that's left is I've left $500 to be able to either buy or build a set of traction bars or Caltrax or do something like that. I haven't purchased those yet, but I've already allowed $500 to be able to do this. I know a set of Caltrax is like $430, so worst case will be into that, but I left a little extra in there in case I find a cool set of traction bars or something of that nature. So we are currently $9,630 into this poor diesel challenge truck. And I haven't even really worked on it. I've just been stacking parts. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of stuff that might not go onto this truck. Like, do I need the Cadillac seats and dash? No, so there's $150 I can get back out of the budget. And then there's other parts and stuff that I can sell. So, you know, I haven't included any of the parts that we've sold off of the truck. I haven't included any of the parts that I've sold off of the parts that I've already gotten. So there's still a good bit of the budget that we can get back, maybe like $500 to $1,000, but we are past $9,000 into this. So there's not a whole lot of playroom left. Yeah.